Okay, so we got the engine out, got the tranny out. Both disgusting mess, and plus I bought an engine that ingested some water, so it bent a rod. But this is the engine that's going in it. It's just a 5.3. Nothing really special about it, but it had lower miles, and this truck was a V6, so... Anyways, now that I got the engine out, it is a disgusting freaking mess. Everything I touched on this got dirty and greasy. So I'm going to clean everything up. I'm going to take the frame mounts out and compare them. For those wondering why you need to change these things. And then get busy stabbing it in. On this truck, luckily, the truck was originally... It's an 05. Originally it was returnless, but at some point in its life they put a return intake on it, and then they just plugged the return with a bolt, and it caught on fire. I don't know if you can see it. And they melted some of the plastic and stuff. I don't know. There was a hole drilled in the top of the gas tank with JB Weld on it, and then it was leaking gas when you'd fill it up. There's all kinds of craziness when I got this truck. The vent hose had, I don't know if I still have the picture on my phone, but the vent hose had like 9 different pieces with multiple clamps, and for this like 1 foot section. So I converted it to return like it was supposed to be. I replaced the gas tank, wasn't without a hole in it. So luckily on this one, on return, I can plug that into the 5.3. The earlier 4.3s have the screw-on fittings. I don't know. I know somewhere in this mess I've got one. I was using it for testing injectors. Oh, there it is. I see it. This is what the older ones have. So the fuel line, the return, and the feed screw to that. So, luckily on this one it has the quick connect, which is nice. I always hated that setup because you got to sit there on top, back of the engine trying to get the fuel lines loose. The only nice thing about that setup is if you, I swapped a 454 in that silver truck at one point, and those same fuel lines matched on the 454. So also the exhaust is the same on all the engines. They made the all the crazy stuff that the GM does. They make these things not the same on anything, but they made the exhaust fit on all. I can put an 8.1 in here and it'll bolt up to these fittings. V6, V8, 8.1, it'll bolt up. But everything else is a cluster. I don't understand, but whatever. So that's where I'm at. I noticed my brother brought it up here that the plastic fittings were leaking, so those won't go back on. I normally just clamp the hose right to the heater core because I know they did it for assembly, but I've seen them. I've done swaps, plugged them in, heard it click, and then had the thing pop back off. So I stopped using them. Well, I'm going to get busy cleaning. I had to go buy a pressure washer yesterday because I got an engine job after this too, and I'm sure it's going to be dirty, filthy, grungy. And the next stuff on our fun journey, now that I got it somewhat clean, you take these off. It's 2 goofy, really long 18 millimeter bolts. We got thread there and thread there. We go from the back normally. Anyways, on the steering rack, the mounting is flat. See these 2 bolt holes? They're flat. No idea why GM did that. These are the V6 mounts. These are the V8 mounts that bolt in place of those. So you see the difference. The mounting holes are offset. This one sticks way out. Now on the HD trucks, I don't have one. Two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, they have these holes here. They're twisted. No idea why. Maybe that just so they know that. So instead of being flat like this, see how this is way high and this is kind of low. Well, they actually sit like this in the truck. And those are 8-1 Duramax mounts right there. Now, if you do an 8-1 swap in one of these, to get the mount to line up, this has to be about 3 inches forward. So some guys cut this, move it. It all depends on what you want to do. I did it completely different. I went from a V6 to an 8-1 in the silver truck. Well, actually, I went from a V6 to a 454 first. And there's these spacers on the engine on the V6 only. I don't know why they did this. Again, GM and their Infinite. They could have stuck with the same motor mounts. I'm trying to find my light. I think it's over here in the bucket. Yeah. Okay. Let's see if I can see this. There you go. So the block is 3-bolt. There we go. And there's a cast iron spacer that goes between the block and the mount. So what I did, since the 8-1 was further forward, initially, I just made this 3-bolt spacer plate thing. I could go dig it out, but I don't feel like doing it. So it had the 3 bolts here, and then I had those 4 bolts for that, and I used the original V6 mounts. That's one way to do it, but the only problem is, I want to say it was really tight, the oil dipstick tube. I know it wasn't the 44. I did reuse them when I did my other red truck 1500 swap. And then it was also blocking the knock sensors, so I ended up putting the knock sensors on the extensions. So, on that truck, after I got sick of all that and blocking stuff, I just made some dirt track mounts that come up. And I have the steel plates they bolt to the block like this, and they come over like this. And a simple bolt, half-inch bolt on each side. So I can set the motor in, and then it also has slots in it. I can slide it over or whatever. But that makes life so much easier. Because these, you have to get them up over, drop it down. Those, you just sit it down. So let me continue on with this. I got it cleaned up the driveway and cleaned up the truck, and now I'm ready to... I got to swap out. I already swapped out the newer style transmission connector. So now I got to take the truck was hit, so the tranny mount got torn. So I got to pull that off, and then pull off the other one from the other transmission, and then I'm ready to stab it in pretty much. Okay, I got it stabbed in. Go over some quick differences. 9902 uses this 2-prong AC switch, and then 03 Up uses a pressure switch for 3-prong one. So I got to take the V6 one, which was up here on the compressor, unscrew it, put it here. This dryer is different on the V8s. On the V6, the outlet's over here, and it'll hit. So you want to use a V8 dryer. Some of the compressors on the early stuff have a single bolt, and then both this hose and this hose are one piece. But on this one, it has the 2-piece one, which is the later style. So that's good. The V6 radiator doesn't have this nipple. I don't feel like giving up this radiator. This right here for the LS's. It's just for that stupid steam hose. Normally what I do if they don't want to buy a radiator, or we don't really need to, is I tap into that 1/2 inch hose here. I just get a brass nipple with the third. They make one that's like a 3/8 to a quarter. I use that, and then I just tap into that to here, so the steam part still works. I prefer the 4-port one. They make on some of the ones on the trucks, you'll see there's a 4-port, 2 lines to this line to here. I prefer that one if I can get it. It just gets the steam out better. I'm trying to think of what else. They don't have the trans mount in, so it's a little tilted, but I gotta feed all the wiring in. So I'm gonna leave it like that until I get that. I need to get the front U-joint was feeling kind of weird, so I'm gonna get a front U-joint for it. I need to get the oil pressure switch is different. 9902 is 1, and then 03 up uses a 3-wire one, and I always seem to always break these anyways, but it's good to replace it. They just go bad normally on these things. I don't know why, but so I need to get a U-joint, a pressure switch, oil pressure switch. What else? I need that brass T. I'm trying to think of what else I need. Gotta swap the trans mount. Oh, I need a belt. The AC belt's kind of on crack, like Hunter Biden. I got to figure out what the wiring harness has, this style alternator or the regulated on the battery cable one. The V6 had it, but I don't know if the wiring harness I got has it or not. I need, this is fuel injection hose. I'm going to trim it, but I need to get the smaller return. The parts store has them, so I'll get that. Trying to think of what else. If your truck is returnless and the engine you're putting in is returnless, then you're set. But I've got this hokey combination here, and I've already got a return intake off of this engine, except it was drive-by-wire, so I'm going to convert it to drive-by cable, and then I still have the return and everything. I could, either way, I could go either way, but I prefer return, especially when you get in the boost. I prefer return, but trying to think of what else. AC pressure switch. On some of the compressors, there'll be a pressure switch on the back of the compressor, and some won't. So it just depends on the wiring. If you have a compressor without it, and you don't care that it's not hooked up, since you have that pressure switch and this pressure switch, then you can just bypass it if you want. Or you can get a switch. It's up to you. All depends on how everything else is programmed, so I try to match that. Once I get to the engine programming, I'll make a separate video on that, because certain years you'll put, this is what I normally do. I take the V8 tune of the same year truck, and I put it in there. And then like this one was returned, so I will convert the injector data. I'll show all that in my video, but I convert the injector data. But sometimes V8 and V6, the gas gauge is actually, for whatever, is programmed reverse. So you'll put the V8 tune in, and then the gas gauge, when it's full, will read empty, and empty, it'll read full. So then you have to go in and convert that over. So I always take the stock tune out first, save that, and then compare. I'll convert the injector data over for return, which is the same number in the whole. I'll show you on the thing. It's pretty simple, but I've done, this is what I've done in the past, and I've had it not work. Take a V6 tune, and then say, because there's drop downs for the engine size, so I convert the engine size and I convert the number of cylinders. And I've had where the V6, it's whatever's different in the V6 OS, I guess, won't work. I've had it do some weird stuff on 8.1 swaps. So I always just convert to the whatever the engine is. So much easier. I haven't had an issue with it since. Trying Trying to think of what else. Oh, this truck didn't have a transcooler, and then his truck did, so I'm going to put that in. Usually when I do this, when I'm pulling the whole thing out, I just take the low side out the rack and the pressure side off the pump, and that seems to make it the easiest. I'm trying to think of what else. For now, that's like all I can think of. I'll just add if I find anything. I did got rid of the stupid plastic things. It was leaking on his when he showed up, and then the ones I took off actually broke. The lock pulled out. There's just such a horrible. I know what it's for, but it's so that when you're doing assembly at the plant, they just plug it in. But it's a horrible thing. So I just clamp right there to the heater core, and then I don't have to worry about it. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Go get some parts, get cleaned up, get some lunch, and more work on it. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have it running. All right. I've got everything underneath hooked up. The exhaust hooked up now. I had a bad U-joint. Kind of see it there. I didn't know it was that bad. It just had a slight tension to it. And then finding a replacement U-joint turned into a whole nother. The auto parts store is saying like every part I've asked for is like, it might be a week out. We don't show anywhere in the country. Luckily Napa had it. But so I got my parts. I'm on to finishing hooking up all the wiring. And big thing is these I forget what they call these, C100, C200 connectors. But big thing is, I know I've done on one swap where the wires didn't match. So, and that one swap, it was for the check engine light. And I just had to take it out and move it over to the right pin. But you just want to verify. Like this one has 7 wires. It's skipping one, right? So you just want to know, see, I've got a wire here that goes nothing. I've got blue, a gray. Now some of this might be for the drive-by-wire too, so. Biggest thing is, as long as everything works, make sure your wires are there. I'm pretty sure those are for the drive-by-wire, but the blue, see there's a brown wire missing here. And the white wire's in the right spot, but there's a blue, a yellow, a couple others. But I'm pretty sure it's for the drive-by-wire stuff. And then, let's check this one. Okay. So this one has 4, white, yellow, green, gray. So you have 5 on this side. And then yellow, tan, purple, black. Or yellow, orange, Jesus Christ. And then there's an extra blue. So I got to make sure certain things are hooked up. But I think that's all for the drive-by-wire stuff. And then see this plug right here? This is a factory electric fan truck. So here's the relays for the electric fan and the fuses. I noticed on the other harness I had to unplug that. And I'm just looking at this harness goes to here and seeing this plug. So I need to steal the E-fan trigger wires and put them back into the connectors so the fans will work correctly. Oh, there's looking for the socket. But so yeah, that's the E-fan plug. All it is a negative ground, or a ground that comes out of the PCM to trigger them. So I need to grab that off the V6 harness. No big deal. But yeah, you just want to make sure that I've had where wires are in different spots. And LT1 swap in, he's got all the information on there. They're the two, I want to say it's C100, C200. I could be wrong on the numbers, but it's those connectors. But I've got that hooked up. I need to make sure this is someone's kid dying. The most basic things in life. Yeah. So I got to hook that up, and then the usual power. This harness had the older style voltage regulated alternator. It has that thing on the negative battery cable that has a plug. So that's great for me because I don't have to change the alternator, but I also have to make sure the tune matches that. And I'll cover that when I go over the tuning stuff. Other thing I got to hook up is I got to hook up the TPS and the IAC because I'm making this drive-by cable. So I'll do that when I'm doing the fan stuff. But we're getting real close. I got to get the intake on. Change the throttle body over to drive-by cable because it has the 0102 style. Hook up the fuel lines. That was another thing. Try to get the simple. This is that fitting I'm talking about. This is for the return on this particular one. They make a 3/8 one. The return's a 5/16. So this is the only one I need on this particular one. But that turned into a day affair. O'Reilly's didn't have it. It was going to take them over a week to get it. They had some plastic ones, so I bought them just in case. But since Napa was open today, I was able to get the... I probably would not use these on the pressure side. The return is not too bad. But these are actually for emissions. I would not use these for fuel lines. This is plastic. So the fuel will dry them out, and then they heat cycle and get hard. Kind of like the heater hose fittings. So I think that's it for now. Let me continue chugging on. Frickin' train. Okay. For example, since I don't have I'm not going to buy the radiator with that one extra nipple in it. But I live in a warm climate, so I don't care about heating the throttle body since the intake is plastic. So I run the hose that went from the throttle body to the radiator. Since this doesn't have the nipple, I'm going to put this in. And this wasn't my first choice, but Ace was out of the stuff that I wanted. And then I tie this in here. And then the steam port is at the highest point instead of being in the middle of the radiator where it used to be down here. Jesus Christ. If it doesn't run, stop revving it. Another bad thing is you have this goes to the throttle body. Actually, this one doesn't have it. I'll fix that. But, cool. I'm actually going to delete that. I wonder where I get this from. They didn't have that nipple. Well, anyways, so I'm going to drive by cable. TPS IAC. This isn't bad, but I'm going to clean it anyways. But when it gets real bad, like this one, it causes idle issues. Because there's a gap on the throttle body, and air is trying to get past it, and all that crud is blocking it. And then this one's, if you took the IAC off, I'm sure there's a bunch of crud on the inside of that. But originally, part of the problem with that, normally when I do these, I take them off and I drain the intake because there's so much freaking oil in the intake. You can see a little bit of it because it sucks it in from here, from the valve cover. And then you got the PCV valve over there that sucks it in as well. So I'll probably fresh air this. I'll just put a breather on it. Put that on there and clean that. And then go from there. There was something else I was going to document. I can't think at the moment, so I'll add it later.